we discuss all the latest in pop culture news, gaming news, and TV and movie reviews. And as usual, I have this wonderful panel of gentlemen with me. To my right, I think it's to my right, uh, at least as far as you're concerned, there's Professor R2. How's it going, Professor?
Doing well. Doing well.
Great to have you here.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have the real Sean Crummell. How's it going, Sean?
Yeah, I'm good.
Sean is always there. I always tell him he's like a ray of sunshine. If you're not in a good mood, Sean comes along, and that's it. He's a game changer. Sean,
That's what the business card says.
right?
Game changer.
Game changer, taste maker.
Sean
all
Game
around great
Changer
guy.
Crummell. That's what it says.
Heartthrob. Yeah, Sean Danger Crummell.
That too. So I guess Mr. Sunshine, that's what Kivo 1961 calls you. That's who you are. That's your Mr. Sunshine.
You betcha.
And we have some interesting things to discuss today. First of all, there was the premiere of a new show. It's The Penguin. I've had a chance to watch the premiere episode. I think Professor R2 has.
Yep.
Sean, if I had to gamble, Sean probably hasn't watched it.
Sean does not have any interest in that universe ever since they cast Sparkle Bats as it. I never even watched that movie because I had no interest. Sorry.
I understand. In any case, we did actually watch it. I watched it, and Professor R2 watched it.
Yeah.
So we're going to do the thing where we talk about it, and Sean, you can react to what we're telling you.
Yeah, I like that.
Basically, I think we can do some spoilers. It's not like this is. There's many more episodes to this show.
Yeah.
And honestly, as much as the reviewers and people are like, "This is so great," I didn't feel that so much was happening. It was kind of just, I won't say that it was slow, but it was just doing whatever it was doing. First of all, before we dig into the details, I'll just say that they tried to take the Penguin and put him in sort of a Sopranos type of vibe.
Very much so, yeah.
Very much. It's as if they looked at it and they're like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if Colin Farrell looked weird and he kind of played the Penguin as if he's Tony Soprano. Now, I like Tony Soprano, don't get me wrong. I like that show. I think Sopranos is a good show. It's a classic show. I like James Gandolfini in it. I don't really need Colin Farrell to be sort of a James Gandolfini clone-ish. I don't really need it. And the other thing is that it has the kind of gritty vibe that it's trying to go for, that it's doing this kind of Gotham City Sopranos thing. But the question is, do I really need it? Is it something that's really pulling me in? Is it really drawing me in and intriguing enough for me to get really excited about, or is it just okay? How did you feel about it, Professor?
I was honestly, I was surprised. I think I was more interested in this than I was in the Batman. I found the Batman to be really slow and mostly dull. I wouldn't say it was terrible. It was not a terrible movie, but I don't know. I kept tuning out. It was way too long. It was way too stretched out. For the Penguin, honestly, I was not expecting much. So having low expectations that always helps. But generally, I thought it was pretty well done. At least this first episode, I thought it was plotted pretty well. It was a little on the slow side. It seemed very deliberate in the way that it was moving forward. It was fairly slow, but I thought it did pretty well as far as the pacing goes. I thought there were some really well-written dialogue in there. I thought Colin Farrell did a really good job. So, I was surprised. I actually kind of enjoyed this first episode. I'm looking forward to checking out the next one.
Is there is this like a prequel to the movie?
No, this is a sequel to the movie.
Immediately after the film.
Oh.
Yeah, this picks up almost to the day after the film ends.
I'm not sold on it yet. I mean, the thing is that it's not that it's terrible, the show, but at the same time, I was watching it and do I really need this show? I'm still not sure.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Batman movie, I think that Robert Pattinson there was really the weak point of the movie. One of the reasons, and it could be that this is why I actually said better things about it after I saw it the first, the only time in the theater. I don't know if people remember at the time there was that international illness coup thing, and there weren't many movies. And for me to go to my local theater, I went to a theater that has really nice reclining seats where like the waiters come out and give you whiskey and stuff,
Whoa.
and which is the kind I mean, that you can also have like they make a burger and you can drink whiskey and watch the thing, and it's really just very spacious and very pleasant. The whole experience was fun for me. And I think that it's sort of because it was such a rarity at that time that I could go to the theater and watch like a Batman movie. I think that it got more positive sentiments for me than maybe it deserved. But it is what it is. That's how I felt while watching it. I do think that even while watching it, I didn't love Pattinson as Batman, but I thought that there was a story there. And yes, it seemed like there were 3 different endings or whatever it is, but I didn't hate it. I enjoyed the experience of sitting in the theater. I kind of didn't hate it. But over time, when the world went back to being, more somewhat supposedly normal, I've thought about that movie less and less. It's not a movie that really stays with me or one that I want to watch again or anything like that. And really, I don't love Robert Pattinson in the role. So if they never make another Batman movie with him, I'll be fine with that.
Yeah.
I never felt at the end of that movie that I wanted to continue to explore Penguin, not to mention that I never really understood why they needed Colin Farrell to pretend he's James Gandolfini in makeup, or I don't know.
Yeah.
The whole thing is weird, and I don't know why they're going through this length to do this whole thing. And with all that being said, is this the worst series? Is this the worst premiere to a series? It's not the worst, but I'm still not sold on it either. That's my thoughts on it. What do you think, Professor? What did you like about it?
Well, going back to the film, you were saying like you're not sure, like you would really be able to recall a whole bunch of it, like you really remember like what happened. Honestly, I'm kind of the same way. I remember watching it. I remember some of the major plot points, but I'm not sure I could recall a whole lot of them for you. And I thought that the take that they went for on some of these different characters was it was different. I could tell they were shooting for this grounded Batman, right? This very realistic, gritty Batman. I think is what they were going for. Of course, then they got Robert Pattinson to be the Batman, which I don't. I was never in on that particular casting choice, but the Penguin in the film, of course, he doesn't like to be called the Penguin, right? He's Oz. And they changed his name from Cobblepot to just Cobb, so it's Oz Cobb. But most everyone calls him Oz. Some people call him the Penguin. But he's not this crime lord that he was sort of in other iterations of Batman. He's sort of he's not a foot soldier, but he's a lieutenant, right? In this mob family. And so I think what we're expected to get from this series is sort of showing him rising from this role of being a lieutenant to becoming this crime lord who's controlling, so much of Gotham. We'll have to wait and see. I think that's going to be the goal for us to see that. I don't know if I needed that movie. I don't know if I needed the prequel to The Rise of the Penguin, right? I enjoyed the more traditional kind of goofy or creepy iterations of the Penguin. I liked I liked the silly Penguin in the 60s series. Burgess Meredith, wah, 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 walking around.
Yeah, that's a classic.
That was fun and silly. It's a classic, and it fit with the camp nature of that show at the time. I liked it's Danny DeVito, right? Who was in
Danny DeVito was great.
A lot of people did not like that film. There were people who did not like that movie and did not like that version. I thought that was a really different take on the Penguin and where he would come from and what his motivations would be. He was really creepy and disturbing. And in some ways you kind of felt for him as being this reject from society and kind of coming back to wreak his revenge on everybody. But That iteration was interesting too. This version, I think, like you've already kind of said, it feels like it's just another character from The Sopranos or a Scorsese film. It's another mob boss character, and where honestly, I like I said, I think that the writing in the show was pretty good. There was not a time when I was like, oh geez, did they just say that? Like, like where the dialogue just was completely wrong. Like it fit what they were trying to do. I thought Colin Farrell's performance was fine as that character. Sometimes it was pretty good. Why they had to decide to make him up in a fat suit and all the prosthetics and stuff on his face, I don't know. Obviously, it's to fit the traditional shape of the character. But overall, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the direction that they took with the story. I'm interested to see what happens next. If they can continue with the solid writing, if they can pick up maybe the action a little bit more of the scheming, psychological kind of thriller stuff going on, then I think they could make something really interesting. So I will say this: I predicted on the Mr. Brown Alliance that you would have in the very last scene of the series, you would get to see him waddling and holding an umbrella, and instead they did that at the very first scene in the show. So
well, I was actually with you on that stream, and I remember you said it, and I agree with you. I tend to think that that's exactly how it's going to play out.
This sounds like, listening to you guys, it just sounds like they made a new version of that Gotham show. Because I assume
a little bit, yeah.
I don't know why they keep making shows like that.
I did not see a lot of Gotham, so I think I only saw like one solid episode, maybe a bit of another one. I was not really into the whole prequel to Batman thing, and we're gonna have a show that's about all these other characters, but not Batman. It just did not sit with me. I was not interested in watching that. So
yeah, I don't know why they're afraid to put Batman in television like that. How many shows did they do? They never really put up or did a Batman show since the 60s.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that I didn't. It's a whole different interpretation to the character and to the vibe. But I agree with you. It's sort of trying to be even a grittier version of that Gotham show. I watched, a few seasons of that Gotham show. I didn't hate it for some reason, but then at some point it started going in a weird direction that annoyed me, and then I just stopped watching it. I think maybe the first season or two, it almost went the route of a CW show. It started off with a season that was kind of interesting. I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting. And then by the second season, I'm just thinking, what's going on here? Then by the third season, all this weird stuff is going on there that almost feels a little bit, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but wasn't the Penguin now developing feelings for the Joker? No, the Riddler was developing feelings for the Penguin or something. Am I right, or am I imagining this?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah,
I feel like this was an early version of things that we would see later. There was something like it started off and I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting, and then like they went weird. You know what I mean? Again, I don't really care, what people do. I just think that the Riddler and the Penguin shouldn't be developing those kind of feelings for each other. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm confused and I only imagined that that's a plot line, but I feel like that's what happened on that show. Maybe that was the point of time that I'm just like, you know what? This show probably, it ain't for me. And the Joker was kind of annoying too. He was like, the actor is all right. That Cameron Manheim, whatever his name, I don't fucking know how his name is. Cameron Monaghan. I probably butchered it. In any case, I don't know. That guy, I didn't really buy him as the Joker anyways. I think he was the Joker. I can't even remember now. And the kid that plays Bruce, he was all right, I guess. The only thing I can say is that I think the actor that plays Jim Gordon, like a younger Jim Gordon, I didn't hate him, but I don't know. The first season had something interesting going for it. By the time you reached the second, third season, it went off a cliff, I think.
High praised. I didn't hate him.
So yeah, and this thing, I don't know. I mean, it's trying to take itself very seriously, and maybe as a standalone, I feel like I have no patience anymore. They've lost the fan goodwill. There's like 7 Batmans and all these movies, and everything is crappy. And now they're like, oh, he's Tony Soprano. So I guess I'm not on board yet. But if I just isolated it and look at this episode, it's not the worst thing that ever happened. But I'm not sold on the show. Maybe if I see another episode and it really seems to find its footing, I'll like it more. But I feel like beyond sort of being Sopranos and Gotham, I couldn't really feel that there was anything extraordinary about it.
Yeah, they've definitely got an opportunity to completely ruin this, right? In the next few episodes. This first episode was functional. It did what it needed to do. It introduced some characters. It set up where the season is going to go with various different mechanical things that are going to happen between the different families, different plots that are going to play out over time. If they do a really smart job of introducing those things, maybe it's not going to feel like the Penguin, right? Maybe it's not going to feel like Batman, but if it's a serviceable show that actually delivers some interesting story and some interesting characters, then I think that's pretty good. I'm cautiously optimistic. I was surprised by the quality of the first episode, but I would say being sold. Is this the greatest thing ever? No, not yet. We got to wait and see. It does have an interesting cast. I honestly like Colin Farrell as an actor. I think he's very talented. It has Kristen Milotti, who plays this psycho, and I think she did a pretty good job. We're gonna have to see some more of her. Clancy Brown is playing a role in this. I absolutely love him. He's an incredible actor. We'll see how much of a role he plays going forward in the rest of the show. But it's a decent cast. I thought the first script was serviceable. It did what it needed to do. I didn't think it was overly dull or boring. It certainly wasn't.
It wasn't boring, but I still didn't know how to feel about it. It was like it's very removed from what Batman is. So it's just like it's such a extreme reimagining of whatever this is. The question is if you're on board for it or not. And I think that was a question that I was asking myself here. I mean, again, if you were looking for the Burgess Meredith thing, you're not going to get it here.
No.
Whole different ball game. It takes itself so seriously that one has to wonder if it's not taking itself too seriously.
Yes, it does.
But I will give it a chance. I'll watch the second episode. I don't watch things to hate them. I wasn't sure about it. That was the best way I could describe it. It's not that I saw it and thought it was a disaster. With that being said, there is a show that I saw this week that I did think was a disaster.
Oh, no.
And that was Agatha All Along, if anybody saw those first 2 episodes.
Just real quick, do you think they decided to do the Penguin show because Joker did so well for being just like a character study or a villain?
I think I can answer that one. Basically, it may not seem like it now, but a number of years ago, Warner launched that Max thing, whether it's HBO Max, and then they had Max, and they were constantly looking for things to put on there that would be interesting. Now, this is before James Gunn's full reboot, that they were still trying to find their footing and figure out what to do with DC, and you had Zaslav also, stepping in there himself. And I think that at that time, when the Batman movie came out, there was some kind of feeling of, okay, well, we did the Peacemaker show that had more to do with the Snyderverse. We did that show, and people kind of liked it. What if we had another kind of offbeat, some other kind of show that's like a spin-off out of this thing? Maybe we'll do Penguin. And
I think originally the director, Matt Reeves, wanted to use the Penguin as the center of a sequel to the original film, and it was then sort of brought up like, well, what if instead we made this a spin-off series that we could do on Max instead, and then that would open up something else to do for the sequel film. So it was definitely considered at one point for a film, but then it spun off into a series pretty quickly.
Okay, sorry to derail your.
The longer we can not have to talk about Agatha all along, the better.
No, it's okay. I mean, yeah. First of all, you're right, and I think that's a good reason. They thought it would be a sequel, then it was sort of a thing that could be between this and the sequel. But I do think HBO Max, whatever you want to call it, they were looking for these type of shows, so it was an arrangement that was good for everybody. Mm-hmm. I do think now, once they brought James Gunn to reboot the DC franchise, this is kind of stuck there like a sore thumb. It's already far along enough that they have to commit to it and I guess do this show. My friend Tom Connors from Midnight's Edge also told me that he thought that even the Batman 2 may actually get made, because sometimes you have these kind of agreements with IMAX, with things like that, and it's possible that even if Zaslav hates it, he may have to go through it with it contractually no matter what. So it could be that we're going to get that additional Batman movie with Pattinson. I don't know, but we did get this Penguin show. I'll give it a chance. I don't dislike Colin Farrell. I will say this. Sometimes I see him in roles that I like him. Sometimes I see him in roles that I don't like him. Yeah. I think that he doesn't have the best American accent always. No. Sometimes he has to work harder on that. But in this thing, I think he's doing okay.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Maybe I'll watch one.
Maybe you'll watch what?
One episode. Maybe I'll watch one episode.
Yeah. You'll probably hate it. You're like, this isn't the Adam West version.
I like. I don't like worship the Adam West version, but
good news. He does waddle at least. So.
No, that's good. He has to in that fat suit, probably.
He does, kind of, doesn't he? So yeah, that was the episode. Just to get a little, is it a spoiler? Are we spoiling? I'll give a little more information. That basically, in the movie, Falcone is dead, and now there's sort of a power struggle. Let's put it that way about what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm.
And the Penguin finds himself in a complicated situation with the descendants of Falcone. And this episode just kind of shows him navigating the underworld and this complicated situation that he's put himself into, and it kind of becomes a bit interesting and kind of wacky towards the end. Very much a mob type of feeling. Feels very much like a mafia show.
Mm.
What do you say, Professor? How do
it's very like I said, if you're a fan of the mob, mafia type films, this is going to be right up your alley. It feels more like that. It feels more like a Sopranos or something akin to The Godfather or something than it does Batman. Okay. It really doesn't feel like a Batman show at all. In fact, there's not even been a mention of Batman. It's just sort of all happening in the same universe. It's happening in Gotham. So
you would think people would mention a 6-foot-tall bat running around the city, at least in like passing conversation around the water cooler or something.
Well, you'd think, but not so far anyway. Not so far in the first episode. They haven't. But, yeah.
And now the inevitable Agatha all along. I watched that thing, and that one I don't care. I'll spoil it all. It doesn't even matter.
Oh, there's no spoiling this. It's already rotten to the core.
It's rotten to the core, and it's a show that we all knew that it's a show that was unnecessary. It brings nothing to the table. Nobody cares about it, and it's not like, okay, here when you heard about the Penguin, nobody cared about it, but you watch it and you can at least say that somebody had some kind of vision or idea or something that they're trying to do, and if nothing else, it was watchable. You may like it, you may not like it. It's watchable. You can sit there and take it seriously as a show and then decide if you like it or not. With Agatha all along, I don't even feel like it meets that requirement, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I have it on good authority from some interviewer that it is very gay.
Oh,
Because
it is
he
the
asked every
Oh,
single actor.
it's the
oh.
gayest Marvel show ever because that marketing tactic worked really, really well for the Acolyte.
They went all in. They went all in. I think they just did it because there's nobody talking about this show, and they're like, maybe we can have, YouTubers hate watch it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're just trying anything at this point, just maybe to get those 5 viewers. Like they want Disparu to watch it or something.
hmm
But
Hey, Disparu watching it's going to like double their view. Their
right, but it
viewing.
doubles the views on his channel, not on their
Oh
thing.
yeah, that's true.
There was. I actually thought of Disparu when I was watching this. There was one part especially that that they were talking, and I thought to myself, like, I could imagine Disparu's face watching it and making fun of it, and I just feel like most people probably aren't happy that there's Agatha all along. I assume that, like, when he saw it, he's like, yes, you know what I mean. That's like the one person that's probably happy with Agatha all along, not for the right reasons, of course, but I mean for the right for him, but not. It's unintentionally good for him, if that means if that makes sense.
Yeah, I only got through. I got through the first episode and part of the second one. I did not finish both of them, but I was horrified at everything that I saw.
That one. First of all, I want to talk about the first episode and explain, like, why it doesn't work. I was going to do a video, and maybe I will, but let's just start here, and I'll just say what I think. Basically, what they did there is that they tried to use the same gimmick from WandaVision.
They did, yeah.
So what happens is that the show starts, and you see, she's like, there was that show on HBO called Mayor
Yep.
of Easttown with Kate Winslet.
Mhm.
Now, the show itself I thought was pretty decent. I like Kate Winslet. I thought that it was a decent show. One could argue, oh, it's a girl boss detective, but the truth is, she was a flawed detective, and I thought it was well written and well acted. I think that Kate Winslet may have given one of her better performances ever on that show. She really, really took on that role and really, like, transformed into that kind of Boston detective or whatever she was. And I think that there was a nice mystery there and it was interesting. Now, in this case with Agatha all along, they tried to do what WandaVision did. And I think it's the same person that did WandaVision that they let her do this show. The problem is it's a one-trick pony, this Jack Schaefer or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
They started with WandaVision. She was in Bewitched. She was I Love Lucy, whatever it is. And then at the end, it turned out to be a spell. Now, we already knew this dumb gimmick. So the second it started and she's, Mayor of Easttown, and it says, like, Agatha of whatever, I knew it was a bunch of nonsense and it's just some spell. So once you know it and you've been through that gimmick before, you know that you're watching crap, if that makes any sense.
Well, and you know that that something's gonna switch up and change. That it's not there to stay. So it's exactly what it's just a gimmick. It's a gimmick and everyone's in on it. So it's not even, we're just all waiting for it to end.
Right. I mean, the gimmick could work once. One time it could be intriguing. But first of all, this Jack Schaefer, when she introduced it the first time, she then, it went off a cliff and the show became a stinker when, it abandoned all logic and storytelling and whatever. So even though it captured, the attention of people for a few episodes, ultimately that whole idea fizzled out. And it's not an idea that's looked at fondly. Nobody really cares about it. And who even remembers what happened on that WandaVision? This is a show that if you wanted to make it, it needed to come out 5 minutes after WandaVision and not be a complete clone of it. Whereas here, it's come out years later when nobody cares about this character. I don't know if anybody ever cared about her. And then in addition to that, it's just same spell. And that's before I even got to the story and to the messaging and all that. Just the concept here is just a rehash of a gimmick that nobody cares about.
From a show that everyone hated.
Right. I mean, people liked the first few episodes maybe because they thought something interesting was going to happen, and then they figured out that nothing interesting was going to happen. It was an early version of that kind of Disney Plus bait and switch, or those kind of things where you think maybe something's going to be good and then it's like crap. So they could still pull that off in those early days of them. I guess you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Professor?
it was an amusing gimmick when it was used in WandaVision. It was
But even
cute,
that went off a cliff. Sean,
but
did you watch WandaVision?
No, but I actually had an interest in it when they were doing the sitcom stuff, and it looked like it had a personality. And then I never got around to watching it, and then everybody already reviewed it, and I was like, well, I'm glad I missed that.
Yeah, you didn't miss much. You didn't miss much.
no. I mean, it was an amusing gimmick at first because, especially we really enjoyed when they did the episode that was basically Malcolm in the Middle. I absolutely loved that show.
Nice.
Such a great show. And then they did one episode that was essentially Malcolm in the Middle, including the silly opening and everything. That was pretty funny. And there were some interesting takes that they did on it, but it wore thin pretty quick. Right. This because again, you knew there's something not right here. There's something very impermanent. Things are just going to change again. And so you're never really sure what's actually happening and what's in her head or whatever. And of course, you do find out eventually that all of it's in her head. She's been manipulating everybody. But in general, I enjoyed it to a point, and then I think you said, it fell off a cliff. Right. And then there were so many things about it that I did not like about WandaVision. Especially, of course, it's been memed to death, the end of the show where
it can never recover from that.
They'll never know what you sacrificed for them. It's like, no, they're just going to remember how you tortured them incessantly for years. That's all they care about. They don't care what you gave up.
It was peak MCU. I'm sorry to use that term, but there's no other way to define it. That she enslaved a whole village, and then like they told she was the victim, and it's just like, wow, like I don't know, that was so stupid. And if that wasn't bad enough, they had that Doctor Strange movie that continued that dumb show, and it somehow made it even worse. It was like fumble after fumble. I mean, I'll give it to Feige that because it was after No Way Home, Doctor Strange 2 actually made money at the box office, but man, was that a crappy movie. I'm sure that the rewatchability factor of that movie is 0.
It's very low. Because I had to sit through it like 100 times doing the quality control for it back.
Oh, you did like the captions for Doctor Strange 2?
I had to check that. I had to check the picture. I had to check the different languages. So like that whole wave of Marvel movies that has stunk for the last 4 years, I've had to sit through all of them multiple times.
Really sorry to hear that. Really sorry to hear that.
Out most of it, but yeah, it was awful.
So you're to blame. No, just kidding.
I didn't make it. It was already made by the time I got to it.
Yeah.
The coolest thing they'll never address, and that's the celestial sticking out of the earth.
Yeah, nobody ever talks about that again.
Yeah. Supposedly, it's been said there that they are going to finally address it somehow. And what's funny is I actually predicted this a long time ago. Was that celestial? I was like, well, that's where they're going to get adamantium. Is from the transformation of that celestial, and supposedly that's something that's going to happen. They're going to be mining that, and they're going to find adamantium there. So
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Depressing thinking about this last raft of Marvel movies after it was at such heights when we got to Infinity War and all of these films that kind of come together, and admittedly many of the films were very formulaic.
Yes, many of them.
They had a formula, and honestly sometimes the formula was working really well. They were making a very good film. Other times it was just okay.
But they were at least pretty good. Most of them
were decent quality. The CGI and stuff that they were using was pretty good for its time. It was an enjoyable time. And then of course, after Guardians of the Galaxy, a lot of the movies started moving towards trying to be really quippy and snarky. And for some of the characters, that worked well. For a lot of them, it did not work well at all.
Yeah,
So
Ragnarok killed watching Marvel for me.
yeah,
After that, like I still haven't seen the last the Infinity War or the other one.
see,
I
I
still
did
haven't
not.
watched it because I hated Ragnarok.
I did not hate Ragnarok. I enjoyed it because honestly, I thought that the first two Thor films were insanely dull.
Oh, I like the
And
first one.
I did not like them at all. The first one, he spends 3/4 of the film, he's not even Thor. And in the second one, just the story was a mess. The characters were a mess. It was just dull as dishwater. So I was not enjoying where they were taking Thor so far in the films. And so I thought the change of pace with Ragnarok was kind of fun. They definitely went pretty goofy in some of the stuff that they did.
I
And
mean,
I can understand.
Ragnarok should have been the only time they do that, and that's the most they do.
Yeah,
but they learned all the wrong lessons from it. They're like,
Yes.
let's make him even dumber.
Yes. Oh, the next film. Now, the next film, they had a chance to do something great with Gore the God Butcher and having Christian Bale there again, a really talented actor there playing that
He's
role.
amazing. What a
They
waste.
could have done something really
What
dark.
a waste.
They could have done something really dark and gritty and just really hitting home with the, you know, the emotions of why he's out there slaughtering these gods and the injustice that's been brought upon him and Thor going out there to face him. But instead, it's just this. I mean, I wouldn't say laugh a minute because nobody was laughing. Gag a minute, just garbage that they made out of that next movie. And I hated that film so much. I enjoyed Ragnarok for what it was. Like I said, even recognizing there's certainly some times when it gets really goofy, and it's maybe a little. It's certainly over the top. But I had fun with that one. I could enjoy the direction they were taking it, but that should have been it. They should have made that. That's the silly adventure. Next time around, he's going to be serious Thor again, and we're going to do something good with him.
Yeah, they really needed to bring it back to give Taika Waititi another chance to do some stupid thing. That was really a mistake. Kevin Feige has made a lot of mistakes, and that was a really big one. But back to this Agatha all along, before I forget. This Mayor of Easttown thing, it doesn't work from the first second because you're just looking at it and you're like, okay, you know, you're jerking us around. Where's the spell? It's fine. And then it's like, oh, it's a spell. And of course, it takes 30 minutes of like some dumb episode that you're just watching nonsense until they admit that it's a spell or whatever it is. Once they admit that it's a spell, you know, first of all, Aubrey Plaza shows up and it's some weird thing. I mean, if nothing else,
weird.
If nothing else, I will say that Aubrey Plaza, at least, she's not repelling. You know what I mean? Like,
No, I really enjoy Aubrey Plaza's performance most of the time. She was great in the Parks and Recreation show as being kind of a serious character, but still having fun with it. I've seen her in a few other things. I think she's pretty talented. Given the right material, I think she can really deliver.
right.
And I thought she did okay with what she was given here.
She did the best she could. The second
Yeah.
you see her, she brings a little bit of like mischief or whatever it is. Like
Yeah.
you look at her, and also, I mean, I'm trying to think of how to word this. She's not the worst looking woman. I think there's something appealing about her, I would say.
Mhm.
Is that fair
Yeah.
to say, or is that a weird?
No, I think I think she's appealing, as you say.
Not appealing. You know, there's other actresses that are more obvious in their appeal, but there's something about her vibe that's appealing. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, she has a good personality. It seems like in all the interviews that I've seen, and she seems like a funny person in real life.
Yeah, a little
Right.
quirky.
Right.
You're not always sure if she's joking or if she's being serious. Right. You know, and that's kind of a fun personality. She can be a little sarcastic, and she can be a little silly, and she can also be really serious. And I thought her performance was fine. She's not given much to work with, Some of the dialogue is, as you would expect, pretty dreadful.
Really
But-
dreadful. And listen, I didn't think that this Catherine Hahn lady needed her own show. She's not the worst actress either, but none of this really matters because this show is just a dumb thing that you could tell that it's just some nonsensical bait and switch, carrot in the stick storytelling. There's nothing really going on here. So for 30 minutes we're being yanked, our chains are being yanked. And then, yes, she's in the spell and whatever. Is the part that she walks around naked, is that the first episode or the second?
That was in the first. That was that was near the end of this.
Again, and I think that
first
Gary
episode.
from Neurotic showed it, that basically there was a young lady kind of checking her out, that she's naked, which was really weird to put into this show. I mean, was that really necessary?
That was
Why?
strange.
Very,
Yeah.
very odd, very strange.
Does it benefit the narrative of
What'd
the
you say?
show? Does it benefit the narrative of the story?
It
at all?
doesn't, but like
No.
this show, just like maybe they played it up for that variety guy that was asking that question, but it is in fact already there's only one dude in this movie, and 5 minutes into his introduction he gets a call from somebody which he doesn't answer, and then he tells Agatha, oh, my boyfriend, he feels so strongly about me and blah blah blah, and then like he stops talking to him, and it's like, first of all, I don't know if that boyfriend is going to become relevant later, but if all they did was they wanted to insert him saying that in order to show that he has a boyfriend, that somehow makes it even worse, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
Like, basically, had they not done anything and they just would have done whatever, it would have been better. The fact that he needs to stop, it almost felt like it was taking you out of the episode, which in and of itself was a boring snooze. So in addition to me already being bored and annoyed, it's like, okay, stop everything. We're talking to you, the audience at home. He's gay and he has a boyfriend. Do you understand that? Do you understand
Yeah.
that he's gay?
Did
And
you,
it's like,
did you
yes,
get it?
yeah,
Did you
Yeah.
catch that?
All right,
Sure.
we're moving forward.
right. And the thing is that I'm going to choose my words carefully here. Let me think how to word this. If you would have told me even without that call that that's what he was, it wouldn't have been a complete shocker, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But they couldn't leave you to think that maybe that's the case. They wanted you to be sure.
Well,
You had to be sure of it.
those BlackRock executives are stupid, so you gotta beat them over the head once in a while. See, we're pulling our weight near BlackRock.
The BlackRock is probably watch this show and they're like, we got to shove that in there. You have to tell them that he is.
Yeah.
Tell him it's his boyfriend calling.
Tell
my
them not
boyfriend
free
calling. That's so lame. So in any case, they're in the car and they're doing, and then it's like a Blues Brothers, but with witches. You need to round up, get the band back together of all these like ladies. Man, that whole thing is so stupid. It's so annoying. And also, I think even there, they find a witch in a store, and that witch is like talking to a woman couple. I think they're a couple about, I don't even know about those candles doing something, or they acting as a lubricant. I don't even remember what I could be wrong here, but it looked there was like a couple of ladies that were a couple, and then that other lady was talking to them about a candle. I don't even know. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I misinterpreted it, but I thought there was another thing there.
You're writing your own show.
You're
No.
you're talking about it being like the Blues Brothers and all the only thing I can think now is they can't stop us. We're on a mission from Satan.
Oh, jeez.
It was like the reverse Blues Brothers. If it was right, it was like if Blues Brothers were shit, that would be like Agatha comes on. A shitty, bizarro, shitty Blues Brothers movie is like
Bizarro
Agatha
Blues
all,
Brothers, Oh,
Agatha
no.
all along. So
I
they
feel
need
like
to.
that's how they pitch stuff now at Marvel.
Yeah.
If this was shit, this is our idea. Oh, all right.
Kevin Feige's like, well, we got to try that. We got to try that.
That
So
sounds
in any
fun.
case, they have to round up these witches, and they form a coven or something like that. So Agatha, she lures that lady with the candle in the couple, and then there's that fortune teller, and then there's this one that she's the daughter of a singer that once wrote a stupid song, and then there's some other lady that she basically took that seemed completely random, and the guy that the kid that's 16 years old and has a boyfriend. which you have to know he has a boyfriend. There's no way that you won't notice. He's like a witch too of some sort. In any case, they're all, and I think they really want to bring that point home, like especially with him being gay, that all these ladies, because of their special situation, they all feel kind of outcasts. That's what kind of brings them together, and that's the sometimes underlying and sometimes not underlying kind of gay, I don't know if to say gay agenda or whatever it is. Now again, I dislike that I'm in this position that I have to say stuff like that, because really, if it was just like a show with great storytelling and there's some subtle thing, like maybe in Stranger Things, it doesn't really matter if there's a good story being told. But man, this show just feels like a propaganda thing from the beginning. I don't know if you guys agree.
Sounds like it.
Professor?
It just feels like it's just got every possible DEI thing inserted into it, just at every possible juncture. They're like, well, we'll add some more. What else can we do to make this more diverse? What else can we do to make this more, so more people will see themselves in these characters, right? Because there's such a large population of lesbian witches.
I mean, for lack of a better term, it really is like a DEI extravaganza. It's not just like it's not like a minor DEI thing. It's like it's the festival of DEI, like the international, international festival of DEI.
It's a smorgasbord of DEI.
It is. I don't know how else to describe it. Really, there's nothing I can say. And then, by the time she fools them all, and again, it's that Disney Plus thing where they have 30-minute shows that feel so stupid. Like they just had one idea and they just do a bunch of filler in that episode that nobody cares about, and they're just like, okay, there's one idea here, there's one idea here. But even those ideas aren't good. They're not fresh, and nobody cares about this, the characters or the DEI. By the end of that episode, you have those 4 ladies sitting around and they're singing. They're like, ba 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 ba. They're all singing and stuff, and I'm like, what is this? This is awful.
They're all like the power of one. Yeah.
It was completely the power of one, but on this Agnes thing, she's like, oh, the time of the witch.
Oh, I saw that. I saw that clip, and I was like, is this part of the show?
And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, that's what I was thinking.
And then they were all going down on the witch's road,
Yeah.
Is that code for something?
Probably.
Probably. Who even knows? And the thing is that like all that other kind of DEI stuff, the biggest problem with it, like a lot of these other things, is just it's really boring and stupid. I said that the Penguin I wasn't sure about, but it was watchable. You know what I mean? It was, if nothing else, I was able to watch it. It was interesting enough that I was able to watch it. I didn't know how I felt about trying to make the Penguin a soprano thing, but I was at least able to watch it. Whereas Agatha all along was just, I was suffering watching it. The first episode was bad enough, and when I had to sit and watch the second one, I'm just like, like it was like, yeah, it was really annoying. I didn't want to watch it. It was kind of like Rings of Power for me, which actually, I feel like I missed an episode, or maybe today is an episode. I don't even know. Rings of Power is like the biggest chore to watch. I can't bring myself to make videos or talk about it or do anything because it bores me beyond anything that I can imagine. It's so boring that like the boringness overcomes me enjoying even saying how bad it is, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It's not so bad it's good. It's just bad and a slog.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in the original first season, you still had a few memes that were funny, but I don't know. This one isn't even memeable as much. It's not even as funny. It's just dumb. It's so dumb, this Rings of Power thing, and it's so annoying, and it's so boring, and it's hard to take it seriously. You're watching just nonsense. It's not, that's not Tolkien. It's not anything.
No,
it's not Lord of the Rings.
I have avoided watching since the first episode. I can't go back. It's so bad. It's just punishing.
Are you referring to season 2 or season 1?
Season 2. I watched about 4 episodes into the first season. Yeah, I couldn't go any further.
It just got gun to your head.
Honestly, I was just kind of sitting here with it with it playing
Mm.
and sort of doing one thing while I was watching it, and literally like even distracted by other things going on around me. Like I couldn't get past like the fourth
Oh
episode.
yeah, like
It was dreadful.
like
And
it's
then
so
the
bad you
second,
can't even stand the noise of it.
yeah, oh yeah, the second season came around. I watched the first episode of the second season. I couldn't go any further. It was just, it's like this is every bit as bad, if not worse, than what we had to deal with the first go around. So,
It's awful.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that in this season, I'm trying to think if I watched 3 or 4 episodes. I have watched a few of these Ring of Power episodes. Yeah, I can't even now remember what happened in them. I mean, I remember, but I mean, I can't even distinguish between them. It's just annoying and shitty. That's all I can say.
Well, Galadriel was a girl boss. That's what I got from it, from what I heard. And then I saw a picture of her holding a bow and arrow incorrectly. It was a promo.
yes, I saw that too. We were laughing about that. I think on one stream, it was probably on Mr. Brown. We were looking at the promo. I was like, okay, that is not how you hold or aim a bow. I don't know who took this picture, but this is completely wrong.
Yeah.
You do not grip the arrow in your fist and
That's what it
shoot.
was.
That is
Like,
not how. That is
And
not
I-
how you hold.
I mean, Adam Gray asked, why did it take 5 years to make Agatha all along? And I want to try to answer that. I think that what happened is that initially, because of that WandaVision show that did well, they had just a reflex, or like, this is so good. Look at the numbers. It's typical kind of network and even streamer behavior. The numbers were really good for WandaVision. People couldn't leave their homes at that time. Everybody was thirsty for something like this. It had an interesting kind of gimmick at the beginning. People were intrigued. So these first few episodes, people like, Disney were sitting there popping champagne and saying, wow, we can't believe it. This is the best thing that ever happened. We got to do more of this. And that's how they probably greenlit this stupid Agatha all along. Not only that, Jack Schaefer, that I think she did the WandaVision, if I'm not mistaken, they probably said, this one's a rising star. Look how great she is. Everybody loves what she did. Let's give her this other. Can she do this spinoff? We don't want her to go somewhere else. We don't want her to go to ZC. We got to hold on to her. And she's a woman. So they're just sitting there and they're just like, they're so ecstatic and they have like this euphoria. They're like, sign this contract. We'll pay you millions. Do whatever you want. Agatha all along. It's so great. It's going to be the best show ever. And first of all, any show you want to do and decide on, it's probably a year or two until you see that show. And during this time, so much has changed, and there was so much, no good fan will towards all of these stupid projects. Probably they also filmed it and saw that it looked like crap. Kevin Feige may be dropping the ball on stuff, but he, at least, there's a part of him that knows that when he's looking at something that's crappy, he kind of knows it.
mm.
And then I think they were just dragging it along. They don't want it to be in this quarter, and then this quarter to have losses, and in that quarter, and at the end, now we're here.
Sure.
I think playing this out over a number of weeks is going to be bad news for Disney.
They should have just dumped it all.
This should have been dumped
Yeah,
all
like
at
Echo,
once.
right? They did Echo all at once.
Say what you want about Echo, which is a pathetic show, one of the worst I've ever seen, but they did have the wisdom. They just said, fuck it, let's just dump it all in 1 minute. It's going to come and go. They won't have those like 8 weeks to keep saying how crappy it is. It'll come and go, and nobody will remember it. And
they won't have 8 weeks to track the viewing of the show. They won't have 8 weeks to watch the viewership just trickle away to nothing by the time they get to the finale.
Right. They just, in this way, by dumping it all at once, they got enough suckers to like watch it. They can say, look, on Nielsen, some people were checking it out. People, quote unquote, sampled it or whatever it is. So they can still say stuff like that and, maybe get away with it. But they couldn't do that if they would have released it over 8 weeks. Agatha all along, based on these 2 episodes, they should have done the same thing. They should have just dumped it in and out, and that's it. But Disney Plus has so little content, and I guess it's the Marvel thing. I don't know what they were thinking, and they're like, let's just release it week by week. Like, we like to live dangerously. So
Sorry, I
got this.
just thought of Austin Powers. And
I was thinking of Austin Powers too. I'd like to live because they're gambling. I like to live dangerously.
like to live dangerously.
I suggest
I
that
just you
hit,
hit,
sir.
sir. Exactly. That's what I want to tell
Yeah.
Disney. So so then at the end they're singing and they put together the band and all this other stuff and it's crap.
Yeah. This is going to be an interesting thing to watch play out. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep watching it week to week. I might just be curious as to how terrible it can actually get. But wow. So far, it's pretty obvious that it's going to be bad. We've still got what else do we have left coming up? We've got from Disney. We've got another Star Wars series.
Oh yeah,
with
Jude Law.
Yeah, it's Jude Law. What is
Skeleton Crew?
Yes, Skeleton Crew. Yeah,
we got that coming. The only thing that looks good about that is that I like Jude Law. I'm like, I think he'd do really well in a Star Wars. It's a shame that he's on Disney Plus.
Yeah. And then we've also got, at some point, apparently it's been done for quite some time, we have Ironheart that's just waiting in the wings for them to decide what the hell to do with it, because they know it is going to land like a steaming turd whenever they finally release it. So they're trying to figure out a time like they could release it when no one's going to be paying attention.
Professor, I just sent you a DM.
Oh, okay.
Passing notes and secrets.
This is a very secret, top secret thing.
And X is not going to load for me now. Okay.
It was a top secret message that I gave you.
Was it that I'm disconnecting?
No.
He's like, I am the walrus. What the hell?
Does your internet doesn't work?
Well, it's just me as being disconnected from the YouTube chat. So I was wondering if my internet was collapsing. Oh, come on.
It's like, I like pizza. Like, this couldn't have waited.
Oh, it's not loading. What else do we have to talk about?
Well, maybe you want to give an update on some gaming stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy, there's been so much happening over the past couple of weeks. Of course, we got Star Wars Outlaws, which has landed with a complete thud. Nobody cares about it, and Ubisoft is scrambling. They've got people internally asking to potentially take the company private, stock, maybe buying back stock and so on, because the stock value has collapsed so thoroughly. There's of course another game coming from them very soon. We've got the next Assassin's Creed game, which is we've talked about that one here several times. That one is going to be in a real bad state of affairs pretty soon. They're I think kind of planning on that to help them to recover, and that's not going to happen. That game is going again to just land like a turd, and nobody's going to be buying it. Pre-orders have been disastrous for that game. Dadgummit. I've got like every website I try to go to is not working now. What is going on? I still see Sean, so I know I'm still connected to the...
Hey, you're here. I hear you.
Oh, let's see. What is going on?
I don't hear Price, though. I don't know if he, like...
his stars are still sparkling.
See. I don't know if he, like, was like, talk about games. I'm going to go use the bathroom or something.
I gotta go. There's been a few different things that have been happening with new games that have been coming out. I'm trying to load a site here so I can think of a couple things to talk about. I know that recently there's been a number of different games that have been targeted by some of the people who are not looking to have all of this politics and stuff inserted in their games. In particular, I know we've gotten a newer game, the Space Marines 2 from Warhammer 40K, that is conspicuously missing all of these DEI things, and the director, the head of the studio, has come out and said, everyone was trying to insert this stuff left and right, and we just told them to screw off, basically. Like,
how do you think they pulled it off?
No time. I mean, they must be fairly independent to be able to get away with that. Just say, no, we're not going to do all that stuff. We're not going to put all that in here. We're making something that's more of a classic game with some great gameplay loops and some really just enjoyable gameplay. I have not played it myself. I've heard some really good feedback. I've heard some not so flattering things about the game, particularly the length of the single player campaign is not really there, but the gameplay is apparently really good. So I am interested to pick that up and give it a try, but it's not on the top of my list right now. I got a lot of other things going on besides to picking that up. But
did you notice that Nintendo is suing Palworld?
Yes, I did see that. That's really interesting. I actually saw some of the filings earlier today, and I thought that was really interesting that they think that apparently they have a patent for a video game where somebody throws something at a monster to catch it. And so I'm fascinated to see how they're going to be able to defend that in court.
Maybe they can play stupid. You did what? When? Oh, we didn't know about that.
So you think that this isn't going to work out well for Palworld?
No, I don't know. I honestly, it seems like a bit of a stretch, for Nintendo. Honestly, we'll have to wait and see, exactly what's going on. But
well, sometimes these companies just do this to drain the other company. Meaning, there have been lawsuits that have been filed in the history of lawsuits that just a bigger company wants to drain the resources of another one. And they're just like, oh, you want to do this game? Well, what happens now if with all of our lawyers, you're tied up in court for years? So when it's like a smaller company, you're really weakening it by making them go through this. And it's happened before in business that companies do this.
Yeah. It's messed up, man.
It is, but it does happen. That's why I'm saying it's not, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yep. Did we lose R2?
Nope. I'm still here. That I'm still trying to figure out what I'm connected to Rumble, but every other app on my computer says I am disconnected from the internet. I cannot access anything. So it's very strange.
I think we have a super chat.
Yeah, it looks like we do. We have a Rumble rant. Yeah.
Rumble rant. Yes, I apologize. I meant Rumble rant. Let me see if we can read it.
I can read it.
Okay, let me see if I can find it. Okay. This is from some late guy LI 1990. Does that mean some late guy Long Island 1990? I don't know. In any case, some late guy LI 1990, $10. Thank you so much. I'm sure it's a bit random. What's the first video game you remember playing at all? And what's the first video game you remember actually caring about? Well, I think that all three of us will probably have different video games, but since you were nice enough to give us a Rumble rant, we will each of us answer that question. I'll start with myself. The first video game that I remember playing, I tend to think that the first video game that I can remember is Pac-Man. That in my mind, I think that that's the first game that I played, and it may not look like a lot today, but that Pac-Man thing was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. Absolutely loved that game. And then, what's the first game that you remember actually caring about? That's a strange question, because I cared about those early games in the senses that I enjoyed playing them, but I think that once a game like Super Mario Brothers, the first one, came out, I felt that caused a level of investment for me that I didn't exactly have in the prior ones. The fact that the thing was side scrolling and I'm really in this adventure, it made me feel like the stakes were higher than these type of games that I had seen prior. So I would say that Pac-Man was the first game. Super Mario was the first one that really left that kind of impact on me. How about you, Professor R2?
Yeah, my first game, I would say it was probably Combat for the Atari 2600. It might have been Pac-Man, but I think we had the Combat actually came with the system when we got it. That was an amusing family story for many years. We were practically broke at the time. We had just moved in with my grandparents. We were not doing well. My father had lost his job. My mother had not had an opportunity to get anything yet. So we were basically broke. And my dad came home with an Atari 2600, and he did not hear the end of it for weeks from my mother. But he brought that home, and we were playing that. And playing Combat, playing Pac-Man. Those were the earliest games that I had on the 2600. And I absolutely loved it. I ate it up. I loved that. Love that system. I still have that system sitting in the closet right next to me over here. It's been a while since I plugged it in, but I still have all those cartridges, including ET. I have ET. But yeah, the first game I played was probably Combat for the Atari 2600. Now, first one I remember really caring about, gosh, well, man, there were so many. I really, again, my family was fairly poor growing up, so I didn't, I played that 2600 for ages. Eventually, we did get a Nintendo. Yeah, I would probably have to say Mario Brothers again. That was such a different Super Mario Brothers was such a different experience to anything probably that I had played up to that point.
It was
really,
a game
really
changer.
enjoyed
Yeah,
that.
it was a game changer in gaming in general. I mean,
Yes.
people probably don't realize that, or people from a different age group maybe don't realize it. But
Yeah.
I really feel like, and I was very, very young when I played those Atari games and Pac-Man. I was even young when the first Super Mario Brothers came out. But
Yeah.
man, that was a difference. That was
It was
so
it
different.
was yeah, it was I mean, it became an obsession, to be honest. I mean, it was such an original thing, and just the gameplay itself was so much different.
I actually had I had before Super Mario Brothers. There was one experience I had which was so almost like a precursor to that. Which this is such a weird story, but I'll tell it because it's true. I had a friend, and he lived in some neighborhood, and he had a neighbor that was Japanese. I think he was Japanese. Don't hate me. I think he was Japanese. I'm 90% sure that he was Japanese. In
Yeah.
any case, we went over to his house, and this was a friend of a friend. Now, because they were from Japan, and this is what I remember, he had, I think that the Nintendo Entertainment System had not yet officially come out in the US. I was used to either arcade or Atari. Sitting in somebody's home, there was only so much you could do. You could play all these games, but it was always less than the arcade or whatever it is. So we went to this guy's house. He's the neighbor of the friend of mine, and we sat there. And he had some machine, which I believe I probably didn't know what it was called then, but it was the Famicom. And
Yes.
his game, he didn't actually play Super Mario Brothers. He put in a game that was I think it was Pac-Man World or something like that. Pac World. I don't know what it was.
Okay, yeah.
So basically, it's like a side-scrolling game where Pac-Man walks around, and that to me, because I my first game was Pac-Man. When I saw it, I was just stunned that he has this game at home. I mean, for me, it was such. I wanted to move in there, live there, stay there forever, and play the games. And sadly, I was only there for like a short amount of time. I played that Pac thing maybe once or twice or something like that, and we needed to go. And I'm like, I need to know more about that machine. And then maybe months later, whatever it was, the Nintendo Entertainment System came out in the U.S. officially, and then they brought Super Mario Brothers and all that stuff. Now the funny thing is that Pac-Man game, I only played it like here and there over the years. But what I remember reading is the guy, I forget his name, that made Super Mario Brothers. He actually was inspired by that Pac-Man game. That Pac-Man game like served as inspiration to him.
Yeah.
He was really impressed with the type of things that Pac-Man game did. And when you watch that Pac-Man game, there's a lot of elements from Super Mario Brothers in that game.
Yeah. I would, I will change my answer a little bit here. I would say, thinking back just a little bit, I think if I want to say it's hard to say the first game I really cared about. I'm going to say the first game I was really obsessed with, Street Fighter 2. I played that so much. We had a cabinet nearby to our house at a gas station, and then we also had an arcade downtown. I played Street Fighter 2 with every spare quarter that I could play. I loved that game. To this day, I have a little mini arcade cabinet here in the other room with Street Fighter, and I still go in and play it, and I just love the hell out of that original, the Street Fighter 2, and then the Super Street Fighter that came after. Just love it to death. Those old school 2D fighting games. I was obsessed with those for years. If we were going to go even further and say the game that probably my favorite games of all time, it would have to be either Mass Effect 2 or Uncharted 2. Both of those games are masterpieces, and I've replayed each of them probably 2 or 3 times. They're fantastic.
Before we go on, we got another super chat. Sorry, Rumble rant from some late guy, Long Island, I want to say 1990, or just some late guy, LI 1990. My first was either Space Quest or Doom, but Half-Life was the first video game I followed and researched. Anyway, those are some great memories for me. Those sound like good memories. I mean,
yes,
Doom I can can appreciate. Half-Life, I feel like I think I haven't played that.
Oh, yeah, the original. I was really late to Half-Life because actually at the time I was not into any kind of PC gaming at all. I was kind of off on consoles at the time just because it was all I could afford. I really couldn't afford a PC that was good enough to play any of the current generation of games. But I came back and played Half-Life later. It's a fantastic game. Half-Life 2 also a great game. Doom was another kind of a game changer. We of course had Wolfenstein Wolfenstein 3D. Sorry, that came before that, which was the original sort of game like that. But Doom just brought it to a whole new level. And man, boy, were we copying those floppies back in the day for for Doom, and everybody could play that one. So,
Doom was my first experience with motion sickness.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to play first person shooters so bad, and I could only play for like maybe an hour before you start sweating and need to go lay down.
Yep, that was just a great game. So yeah, thanks for those Rumble rants. And,
so Sean, the first game you played was?
I can't accurately remember. I want to say Pitfall on Atari, but we also used to go to Showbiz Pizza Place a lot when I was really little. So It might have been Frogger or uh, Defender, maybe even.
Pitfall was an early game that I played too, but I still think that Pac-Man, I remember in the arcade, that seemed like something that really launched this whole thing for me.
Hmm.
Pitfall was a good game for the Atari.
Hmm.
The only problem is that, and especially thinking about it now, much like a lot of these other Atari games, it didn't really have like some of these games didn't really have a start and finish. With
Yeah,
Pitfall, you're just kind of jumping around and jumping around and jumping around, and yeah, there's the alligators, and you don't want to fall here and you don't want to fall there, but at the end, it kind of just, how much
Well,
of that can you do?
it was in its infancy. They didn't know that a game had to end.
No, they
Other
didn't
than
know. In Pitfall 2, they already learned it. Pitfall 2 actually has, for the Atari, has, I think, a beginning and an end. You can finish that game, and I
Yeah.
believe that I did finish it, from what I can remember.
Yeah.
I can't believe I had Pitfall 2 for the Atari, but I actually had it.
Yeah. Pitfall is a classic. Yeah.
It is.
I remember playing Pitfall 2 once, and it blew my mind when the little guy fell into the water and he could swim.
Yeah, I mean, those were still magical games. I still like them. The final thing I want to say before we move on, the game that caught me the most, that in terms when you talk about emotions and stuff, I mean, I will say that Super Mario Brothers was special for me. The game that I was like addicted to, that maybe because of that game, I actually stopped playing video games, was Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk, I've played a tremendous amount. I clocked in so many hours into that game. I think that I couldn't stop playing the game. And I was already like a grown man, and I couldn't, I mean, I'm not a million years old, but, I was already like a grown-up, couldn't stop playing it. At first there was the first few on that first PlayStation. I think on PlayStation 2 there was like Tony Hawk 3. Whatever those Tony Hawk games were, I think that I understood that I don't know, it changed my perspective about gaming. Maybe had I never played those games, I would be a gamer now.
Yeah, the whole industry changed though, so maybe you would have grown out of it still.
That's true.
As for like caring about a game, I loved the Super Star Wars trilogy growing up, but that doesn't really count because that was just I love Star Wars. It wasn't until I got to college where they started doing like Jak and Daxter and Beyond Good and Evil and Ratchet and Clank, and I was like, holy Lord, I want to make one of these. And that influenced like everything. The characters in my comic partially exist because I wanted to do a video game like those, because I love those action adventure platformers. And like the PlayStation 2 felt like playing Saturday morning cartoons with every game that came out. I loved it so much.
Yeah, the PS2 was an incredible system. Yeah, I had every iteration of that at the time. I was playing that so hard. I had the original, and then I had the network thing on the back, so you could play online games. Had the hard drive and everything loaded into it. And then eventually they introduced the Slim, which had the hard drive and the networking all built right in. So I swapped that out for that one. I still have that. Yeah, it's.
I still have the original one. I would love to have a backup one or a Slim just in case this one dies, because I still play it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. The nice thing about the Slim was that it didn't have a tray that could break. So I just had it. You just had the flip open lid. So that was one less thing to go wrong.
Yeah.
Well, let's see for a second. So we covered the Penguin. We covered Agatha all along.
Yeah, I think we were gonna mention some. When we were talking about video game stuff, I finally was able to get some of my internet connection working. I can't open the chat on YouTube. I can't open Rumble, but I'm still here. I don't know. But I've got my phone open and just kind of checking some other stories. So I was trying to remember what were the things that kind of happened today. So there's Dragon Age Veilguard was one.
Yes. I think I listed that in our topics today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a catastrophe too.
Oh boy. Yeah. So I think we talked about some time ago. We talked about Veilguard and some of the news that was leaking out about it. Essentially, that every single character in the game, every one of your companion characters, is going to be bisexual. They'll or pansexual or whatever. They'll put it in whatever, and if you don't romance those characters, they will romance each other because they have needs, Sean. They have needs.
Video game characters, a big thing was them getting fatigued when you ran too long. So this is just the next inevitable step.
So now they've announced that they've shown off some bits and pieces. That's an unintentional pun there. They've shown off some of the character creation for the characters, and apparently you can make female characters that are jacked to hell, but you cannot give them an ass. You can create characters that have top surgery scars.
I just saw that before we started the stream. Somebody posted that. That's crazy.
Just what the hell? And honestly, just looking at the characters and looking at the graphics, this looks terrible. It looks astonishingly bad. And this is coming from somebody I really like the Dragon Age series, or have up until now. Yeah. Some of them were okay. They weren't amazing. The first one was fantastic. Dragon Age Origins is still a fantastic game. But there's been some up and downs in that series, but wow. This is going to be another just huge flop. This is going to land. This isn't just going to be even a turd. This is going to be a crater when this hits. Like, nobody is interested in this.
Is this consistently week after week? It's all these studios just dying off with these games. How is this different than like the previous 14 years? Are people just more aware of it and calling it out now, or is this just hasn't it just consistently they've been bad all along? Are we? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, as far as the insertion of some of these questionable values and stuff into the game, I don't think it's been that blatant, right? Oh. There's been the introduction of there's a character that's gay. Okay, all right, that's fine. Whatever, you got a gay character. If they're not prancing around and acting like a complete fruit,
it every 5 seconds,
and then telling you, I'm looking at my phone and it says I have a boyfriend. Oh, sorry. But if they're not just prancing around acting incredibly gay, it's like, okay, whatever. It's a gay character. There's gay people in the world. That's fine. Whatever. That's been in gaming for a while. Sometimes it was kind of shoved in your face, but not often. It was usually just kind of there. They were part of the world, as gay people are. They're part of our experience. They're part of the world. But then it's like, now we have to start adding, homosexual romance options for you in the game, right? So you can't have a game where you've got a character that's straight. You as the person playing the game need to be the one that decides whether they're straight or not. So you've got different romances and stuff. And then you had even to where you got games like Cyberpunk 2077, where there's a whole bunch of different romance options, and some of them don't even intentionally seek them out. Just someone's like, hey, let's get it on. You're like, well, what? I'm sorry. No, I wasn't.
Well, even that
I wasn't interested in that.
Even that doesn't seem like terrible. Like if you just put that in as a whatever, or an extra feature or whatever, it's like, even that's not totally horrendous. I'm just surprised that every single week is like a new video game
Oh
company
yeah. Well,
that's eating crap, and it's like
yes,
it's unbelievable.
a lot of these they all started development similar times. They all started
Oh,
development, many of them in 2015, 2016,
mm,
some of them a little bit later. And that's when you started to see a whole lot of activists starting to push their way into some of these different industries, especially creative and
yeah,
entertainment industries. Not that we haven't had plenty of gay people who are part of the creative industry. That's been the case for a very long time. But we started to see not just people who lived their lives with that particular sexual attraction. No, they started to have to be activists about it and
yeah,
pushing it into the entertainment, pushing it on other people, very intentionally trying to make it uncomfortable and trying to it's inclusive because it's whatever.
yeah. That's
They've
like
started really shoving that stuff in just in the last 6-8 years, and we're starting to get now this release of all of these games that they've been working on for the past 5-6 years or so, after 2020, when people just lost their damn minds, and now we're getting all of those games. They're hitting the market now.
it's just like a
And
perfect tidal wave of crap.
exactly. And the I think the lovely thing is we're gonna get this generation of games over with real fast,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
We're gonna get this over with real quick because we're already seeing. I mean, Ubisoft is already feeling the heat,
hmm,
and they're really going to be under it when the next game, the Assassin's Creed Shadows game, comes out. We've
yeah,
got other things like Dustborn, just, I mean, frankly, eating shit. I mean, nobody cares about that game. It's garbage. It is
yeah.
utter garbage. We've got any number of other titles that are coming out with all of these values and stuff. There's just, as somebody like to point out in the chat, inserted into them. They but now we've got it's Dragon Age Veilguard. My God, what have they not put into this game? I mean, it's not just that they added some bisexual characters or that they added some pronouns or whatever. Like, everybody's pansexual and everybody sleeps with everybody, and you're adding in options to make crazy weird characters and adding in options to display top surgery and stuff on your characters. Like, why?
Yeah, yeah.
Why is that necessary
That's
for
like
these
a
characters?
that's like an interview about Empire Strikes Back I read where they're like even in the 80s, some interviewer was asking about the politics that they put into Star Wars, and they're like, this is a fantasy world. They have all of their own politics. The story should not be reflecting our real world. It should be reflecting the world of the characters. And it's like shoving all that stuff into a video game, like the top surgery stuff that's egregious. And
They have
it's
top
complete.
surgery in some ancient kingdom
Yeah,
in a
exactly.
fantasy world, right?
Yeah, it's like
Come
that.
on.
That's gonna kill my my insertion, my ability to lose myself in your game.
But by the way, I wanted to bring this up. I know that it's sort of games adjacent because that Paul Tassi from Forbes, he often reports on games, and I had a little bit of a falling out with him today on Twitter. So, I know, Professor, you must have noticed this.
Oh yes, yeah. I commented on a few of the posts in there and saw some of the conversation going on around what Paul Tassi had to say. But yeah, apparently, honestly, I will bet you I would put money down on how somebody was able to contact Paul Tassi, able to send him a text on his, clearly it was an iPhone. Okay. First, it was an iPhone. You could clearly tell it was text that was being sent to him over an iCloud account because it was blue bubbles, right? if you use an iPhone, you know that every time you create an account, you link that to your Apple ID. And you can choose to receive messages on your phone, just like text messages, that they looks exactly like someone texted you from their phone, but it's actually coming through your iCloud account. So I would bet hard cash that he has, I mean, not telling anybody to use this, but he probably has his name at iCloud.com as his Apple ID, and he has that tied to his phone, to his phone number. And so someone was like, I'm just going to try sending this message to Paul Tassi. And they did it, and it worked because he's a dumbass.
Right, and I think that somebody actually made that comment in his thread, and he's like, I'm going to look into it. So, like, basically, that really was a possibility that that's how it happened.
I'm almost certain.
And in addition, I don't want to share it because there's some bad words like in there, but what I basically said, let me see if I can find my response to him at least.
Well, what we can say while you're looking for that is that what this person did completely wrong. You should not be texting people. You should not be sending messages to people, making threats, calling them, all sorts of nasty names. That's gross. It's disgusting. But also disgusting is saying, "Oh, I got this message, so it's this YouTuber's fault that this rando decided to send me these messages." Right?
Yeah.
To blame someone for someone else's behavior when there's absolutely no evidence of any connection there is just nasty.
I mean, what happened with me is that, first of all, I saw that comment and he writes, look at the community that you've cultivated or something like that to Star Wars Theory. It's like, dude, the guy, and this is what I answered. I said, so you got one text and you're blaming Star Wars Theory, a guy with over 3 million followers. He's supposed to be responsible for all of them. Are you serious? And that was a really mild response. I mean, basically, I was telling him the truth. It's like, you can't take some weird text that you got to some spam box because you didn't put a security on your iCloud or whatever it is. Some guy that wrote about, if you called you a few names, you can't take that and say, okay, 3 million people did that, and they all did it because of Star Wars Theory. I really think that to say that that's a stretch and mental gymnastics is an understatement. This is just, and it's the same thing that I saw in the article that he wrote about, Nerdrotic, Star Wars Theory, Geeks and Gamers, and RK Outpost. He was trying to show in that article that there was a guy that was being treated poorly by people that didn't like the Acolyte. He was showing the actor that plays Don Lemonless on Rings of Power.
Yeah.
I didn't invent that. I think Gary invented that. But once you hear Don Lemonless, you really there's no other way to look.
It's absolutely perfect. Yeah.
If it's Gary, then a tip of the hat to him because that one is just a really good one. Ever since I heard it, I can't think of that guy. Hard to think of that.
I think I can picture him in my head just from that.
I don't think. Unfortunately, you can say it's nice or not. It is funny. There's nothing you can do. So somebody wrote Dom, the actor that plays him. I don't remember the actor's name. Wrote him like a negative comment, and then Paul Tassi took a picture of that, a screenshot of that comment, put it in his article, and said, "Look, this is what happens with the Star Wars Theory and the Acolyte people that didn't like the Acolyte. Look what's happening." And it's like, dude, there's one comment for some idiot on Instagram. Of all places, you want to tell me that one dum-dum on Instagram, that is, a representative of an entire fan base of millions of people? I already said it then that I thought this was a bad faith argument. And today that he gets up and he's like trying to throw Star Wars Theory and his millions of followers under a bus because he got a bad text. When there's millions of people involved in a group, is there really a way to control that there won't be a few weirdos that'll write a shitty text? I'm not condoning it. It's bad. Writing a text like that is bad. I'm 100% against it.
Yeah.
But that's just bullshit, man.
Yeah. It's sending that kind of message, that kind of harassment, threats and stuff towards somebody completely offsides. Not acceptable, right? Nobody is condoning that behavior. But it's also not cool for you to be like, oh, well, some guy said this nasty thing to me, so it's your fault, dude. You over there. Yeah, you. you've got a community, and he mentioned your name, so you're responsible for this, for what this rando did, right? When you do not have any evidence anywhere that Star Wars Theory has ever encouraged anyone who follows his channels, anyone in his community, to go out there and make threats or
I think he
attack
usually
people.
actually says the opposite.
He does. He frequently. I am not a huge Star Wars Theory fan. We disagree on a lot of stuff, but I think he seems like a pretty genuine guy. He likes what he likes, doesn't like what he doesn't like, and I think he gets along with most people pretty well. But he's like everybody. He's got a certain personality. Some people he's going to clash with. Some people he's going to get along with. And I have seen in multiple videos that he's made where he says, well, such and such, person said this comment. And by the way, don't go out and harass this person just because I mentioned them on the stream. It's not what we're doing. I'm just talking about, what they said and giving my reaction to that. Like he's saying directly to the people watching his videos, don't go out and harass these people. Don't go out and make threats. Don't do that stuff. And of course, what you get from people on the other side is say, well, by saying that, what he's actually saying is, yes, do that. It's like, no.
Yeah, that's a stupid. I know what you're saying that they say about him, but that's a stupid argument. I think he's genuinely not telling people to go bother people. I've never seen a video of his that's what he said. And yeah, I just want to say that I myself, over the years, have had different sentiments about Star Wars Theory. The truth is that initially I kind of liked what he did, didn't always agree with him, but I liked the general direction of what he was doing. When he made that Shards of the Past Vader movie, the fan film, I really appreciated his effort and how much you could tell that was made by somebody that really does like Star Wars, and I appreciated what he did there.
Yeah.
I thought it was very, very refreshing. I will say that then, as the fandom was really divided after The Last Jedi, and always getting beaten up by the media and stuff like that. During those years and those times, I probably on a number of occasions probably mentioned that I was disappointed that he wasn't more vocal and sort of standing with the fans. And that was my criticism back then. But you know what? I will say this, that especially over the past few months, when I've seen what it means when he actually did take a stand, and how all the media and all these things, all the meltdowns and all these battles against him and trying to demonetize him and really what he's gone through, I now understand maybe why he was never in a hurry to do this. Meaning, at the end, he had no choice and he did it. But I think that for a long time he was trying to avoid probably this very situation that he's in now. And I don't know why, but I can appreciate it more now than I did then. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Like I said, I've never gotten an impression from him that he's anything other than who he claims to be. He's a Star Wars fan. He's passionate about it. He really enjoys the series, and he's very, I think perhaps a little bit too overly optimistic about Star Wars. The whole idea of Star Wars Theory was, we're going to watch these shows and we're going to kind of fill in the blanks with our own ideas about the show. And sometimes I think building a lot of that headcanon was to his detriment, right? I did not catch on to some of the, or didn't really accept a lot of the stuff he's trying. Well, this happened because of that. We'll do this, but he's very knowledgeable about Star Wars. He really does know his lore, a lot of the extended universe stuff. He's very familiar with it. And he's very passionate about making entertainment for people.
I never had an issue with his passion or optimism. He doesn't have to like everything. I just felt that early on he was trying to sort of... I didn't feel like he was standing with the fans, and I thought that maybe he could have at earlier points. But you know what? At the end, he did it, and he's gotten a lot of crap for it, and somehow I have to respect that. I have to respect that he put it on the line and said, no, I don't like this. And when he was tested, he didn't fold or say, oh, I'm sorry or anything like that. He stood his ground. Have to say that I liked him. Then I had some disappointment from him, but now I feel like I'm good with him again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think he, uh, I think you're right. I don't think he wanted to have to make videos talking about people trying to demonetize him or having beefs with other YouTubers. I don't think that's him. I think he just
No, I don't think he. I think he
he
wanted to
got pushed
avoid
too
this.
far. He
Yeah,
got pushed too far.
he got
He got
pushed too
pushed to a
far.
point where he had to come out and talk about it. And
And at
honestly,
that
I think
point, somehow,
yeah,
I changed because when I kind of saw what he was being put through, yes, I understand. Some people think, oh well, he makes money on the thing. Why does he care? Whatever. It's not just about the money. I think that if you care about what you do and if you're passionate about what you do, and I feel like he is, even if he's successful. I mean, if he built something. He built this thing that he does. He built his channel. He built his following. It's nothing that I mean. I respect it. And to build all of that and have people attack you like that in the way that they're doing it, it can't be a pleasant thing. It's not just a money thing. It can't be a pleasant thing. And it's not justified either. I don't think this guy did anything bad. I think they're painting him as some kind of evil, sinister person, and I don't know where they're even coming from. You may like his takes, you may not like his takes. I've never gotten that impression from him.
not at all.
So yeah, so basically, I asked him this question, and after I asked it, then he blocked me, and then I'll just show my my final tweet that I did about him. That a lot of people were very supportive today. Can you see this?
Yep.
So this is what I wrote. Update today, Paul Tassi of Forbes allegedly received a hateful text message for which he blamed Star Wars Theory's followers. In response, I explained to Paul that Star Wars Theory has over 3 million followers. There's no way that he could be personally responsible for the actions of each and every one of them. At this point, rather than responding, Paul Tassi decided to block me. For the record, I want to clarify 2 things. Number 1, I am 100% against bullying or harassing people via text messages, even if those people are soy enthusiasts like Paul Tassi of Forbes. Number 2, it shows very poor character from a legacy media, quote unquote, journalist like Paul Tassi that he blocks people and runs away in the manner that he did today. It only highlights the bigger problem we have these days with such pompous, arrogant, self entitled, quote unquote, journalists who, in my opinion, continue to operate in bad faith. I think that was. I feel good about what I wrote here. I feel like it represents the situation here.
Yeah.
And the fact that I just asked him, what I said was very mild in the thing that got me blocked.
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
absurd that he would block you over what you wrote. That I was like, seriously? He's going to block you over that?
You didn't even call him a booker.
Yeah, I didn't call him a booger. This was like me, like the kindest I've ever been. You know what I mean? Like he couldn't have got me like in a more positive and better mood. I just said to him, listen, you can't be serious. It's 3 million people. And if you have something to say and you don't agree with it, then say what it is that you don't agree. To block somebody and run away, I don't know what to tell you. And you're supposed to be a critic. You're like a grown man that writes for Forbes. You're like a critic, and somebody asks you a question and that's your response. Doesn't speak volumes about your own character, I think.
Well, I think grown man is probably giving him a little bit too much credit.
Yes, maybe he's not a grown man. I mean, I'm not even sure he. I don't want to say it.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
I'll keep that other comment to myself.
Yeah,
but,
you don't need to assume any. You don't need to assume any pronouns. It's okay.
You know where I was going with that. But yeah, so it's the end of an era that Paul Tassi has blocked me. Now I have the trifecta of Forbes senior contributors. Even though Scott Mendelson isn't there, he blocked me. Eric Booger Kane, I believe his nickname is Booger. I don't know if it is, but I believe that it's Eric Booger Kane. He's blocked me. And then you have Paul Tassi, who's also blocked me. So anybody that writes for pop culture for Forbes now, or even previously, have all blocked me. And
well,
it's
now
so
you gotta
weird.
Now you need the entire editorial board of IGN.
Yeah,
get
collect the whole set.
Somehow I think I'm not on their radar. Maybe because I don't talk a lot about games. But the Forbes team, I guess I'm persona non grata there.
Yep.
And it has been that way for years, and now it's continuing. I have said, the funny thing is, there have been stuff that I said to Paul Tassi before, that maybe that would have been more legitimate, that he would have blocked me, even though I never say anything that's like cursing that person out or threatening or anything like that. I just kind of, in my own subtle way, expose like certain silly things that are happening. Sometimes it doesn't sit with people, but I really feel like he obviously blocked me because of that comment today. And I think he also blocked me because within that thread, I was getting a lot of likes. He was trying to sell his story of the woe is me, and my comment was actually getting traction within his own thread, and I think that probably annoyed him. That's my... I'm speculating, but I think that may have been what did it.
Yeah, man, I saw some incredible ratios today on X. I won't talk about them here. Some of them are a little divisive, but I saw some incredible ratios today of people posting stuff and just getting torn to pieces.
Can you give me a hint at least?
Someone was claiming some things about trans women, and there was an enormous amount of people just tearing them to pieces about claiming that they're women, right? And
which they may or may not be.
Yes,
if anybody from YouTube is listening.
Yes,
yes. Basically, here at Price of Reason, we don't take an official position on anything. If YouTube are listening, we were just shooting the breeze. I don't even know what the professor was talking about. He was talking about something. I don't know what it was.
I don't even remember what I was talking about.
He was talking about Transformers.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
Transformers
1. Yes, Transformers 1.
And I saw Transformers 1.
Yeah? What'd you think?
I thought that it was good and bad at the same time. Overall, though, I would give it a decent score. But the truth is that there were things in the trailer that I was worried about, and I think that during the first 30 minutes of the movie, these things play out in the way that I had imagined, and not in a good way. But the movie at some point starts finding its footing, and by the end of the movie, there's certain elements of it that it gets right, and between the animation, which I didn't dislike, and the fact that they got some story parts that I enjoyed, I walked out of there not hating the movie. It's not the best it could have been, but it was certainly, it was certainly enjoyable enough. It wasn't... I didn't hate it.
All right, so if you were an editor at IGN, you'd give it a 7. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know what they usually give. What kind of scores?
You haven't seen all of that. Yeah, they give out a copious amount of 7s for games that are nowhere close to each other in quality.
I would have maybe given this movie something in the 70s. It's not a bad movie. It's good enough. Because there's a few things that annoy me, I can't give it like higher than that. If they would take out the things that annoyed me out of this movie and they fixed it, I would have maybe given it maybe even an 8. You know what I mean? Which I usually don't give, a low 80s or something like that. But because they kept in some annoying things that still annoy me, they won't be able to get there. It'll be something in the 70s. But hey, not a disaster. Not a disaster of a movie.
I want to see it on some level. I'm pretty sure I'm going to hate it, but it's free and it has robots.
It's definitely going to be waiting for streaming for me, but I'm not opposed to seeing it. I have heard some good and some bad, about it, so I'm willing to give it a shot. At least, it might be an entertaining hour and a half.
The first 30 minutes gives a feeling that it's going to be dumbed down and stupid, but somehow after the 30-minute mark, there's certain things that happen that I did actually like, and it starts taking itself a bit more seriously, which I also like. And by the end, there's certain things that happen that I enjoyed. And
because it has that humor that...
It has the annoying humor that I don't like, that I was worried it was another...
knife hands. It's like, oh, shit.
Right. There's stupid things in there for sure.
Yeah. So was it? I think we might have talked before. I think it looked a lot, kind of reminded us both a lot of the newer Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Completely looked like Mutant Mayhem, and I would say that for the first 30 minutes, there were moments that I was like rolling my eyes, and I'm like, oh no, it's Mutant Mayhem. But then stuff happens in the movie that I said, okay, you know what? It's not Mutant Mayhem. This is much better than Mutant Mayhem. So I'll give it that. Not perfect, but At the end of the day, there's some things that they did in this movie that I didn't hate, and I didn't hate the movie.
Did you
Yeah.
discover any characters that were previously announced or secretly announced as being female or swapped in any way?
No, I didn't see anything like that. But I will say that one of the downsides of the movie is there's that Scarlett Johansson robot, and Scarlett Johansson. I was actually saying this earlier on I was talking to Tom. Basically, she has a very pleasant voice. It's a pleasing voice. It's very pleasant.
Mhm.
It's nice to hear her voice.
It's
Yet
kind
they
of
told her
that
to
smoky, sexy voice that she has.
right, which there's nothing wrong with that. And they told her instead of using that smoky, sexy voice, can you just be super annoying? And it's like, why would you tell her to do that? The character is written annoying. They told her to deliver it annoying, and the character every time she sees a man, she wants to like punch him in the face. It's so like, it's just like, why even do this? I would delete this character from the movie, and the movie would just improve. Already, I'd give it a few extra points just because I wouldn't have to see this character.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean that part they didn't get right at all. Bumblebee, and I said this, they kind of made him an idiot, which I don't like. It's fine if you want to make him comic relief, but don't make him completely dumb. There's something about him that annoys me. So you have that, but even with everything I said, there's some stuff that I did like, regardless, even of the stuff that I just complained.
Nice.
Interesting. Yep. I would be interested to see it. Not opposed to watching it, but yeah, definitely something to wait for streaming for me.
Yeah,
So,
probably not $18 interested in.
yeah, no, yeah, that's the big thing now, isn't it? Right? Especially if I want to take take the family out to see a movie, it's like, oh, how much do I want to see this movie? Do I want to see $100 worth of movie?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I think I'm a lot more forgiving of movies lately because I get to watch them for free. So, and it's, the theater experience. So I'm like, yeah, you know what? That wasn't too bad. It could have been better.
I mean, I'm in the same boat. I have the kind of thing where you just pay one fee and then you could see as many movies as you want a month.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, once I did that, which it's totally worth it to do, then I've been seeing more movies because I have access to them. So I'm just like, okay, I'll go see this movie.
Yeah, I think we used to go to the theater in the last 10 years. We would go maybe less than 10 years, but previous years we went to one or two movies at the theater. Now in the last 2 months we've seen 6.
Yeah, I understand. And I think that with that wonderful review for Transformers, I think that would be a good time. Wait, anyone sees the Transformers scene where Optimus apologizes for misgendering? It's true, no joke. I didn't see that. Where that's from Transformers 1?
I haven't heard of it.
I remember, yeah.
If it happened and flew under my radar, I can't remember that. Unfortunately, I don't know. I wish I did, but I don't remember that.
Adam says he'll watch when they bring back the Wrecking Balls. Yes, that was a
I miss
classic
Michael Bay.
moment.
But before we go, is there anything you guys want to plug?
No, not really. Hey, follow me out. Follow me on X. Sounds great.
Let me see for a second. I'm going to try something naughty.
Naughty.
Hold
Are
on.
we allowed to see this? I don't know if I'm old enough. Uh-oh.
Wait, I did Professor R2 and it says this account doesn't exist.
Underscore. Professor underscore R2. Yeah.
Okay. Professor underscore. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to put it in the chat. I should do this every time. I just never know what I'm doing. Okay, now I think I got it. Now let's see if it works.
Oh, Guybrush.
I've had that ever since they have offered those backgrounds on Twitter. I've had Guybrush up there. That's one of my favorite games. I absolutely love that whole series. I'm a huge fan of all of the old LucasArts point and click adventures.
Yeah.
I spent so many hours playing those. It's great. But yes, Guybrush.
Okay. So I put that in there so they have that, and then Sean.
Present.
Do you want the YouTube? What should I do?
Oh, you could do the comic. YouTube. I need
No,
to do
which one should I do? The YouTube or the comic, or what should I do? I can
do
do
the
both.
or whatever you
Yeah,
want.
hold on 1 second. Let's do this.
It's just an embarrassment of riches.
Real Sean Cromwell. Okay, so we got this. Let me put the YouTube in the chat. That I can do. Are you still with me, Sean?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I've been working on stuff all day. I was working on a cover for issue 3 while we were live streaming.
So Professor R2, you should follow him on X. And then this is now Sean on YouTube. And I'm also going to find... Oh, you... I'm so confused. Is this my X that we're sharing? Oh, I guess it is.
Yeah.
So what was I looking to do now? Oh, Crumbs Comics. Okay.
Yeah.
Crumbs Comics shop. Okay, so Sean has the comic Smacked in the Head, which he created and he draws. And right now I'm going to share this link. You guys can tell jokes in the meantime.
What's a pirate's favorite letter?
R?
You'd think it was the R, but it's really the C. That's one of my favorite jokes ever. I died laughing the day I heard that, like 20 years ago.
Okay, so I did it. I did what I said.
Now I just want to go play The Secret of Monkey Island.
Yeah.
Grog.
How come I don't see the things in the chat here? I don't know. I hope people
usually,
it takes a little bit sometimes.
yeah, on
I see.
the studio, it takes a while.
I see. Well, I think that oh, here I see Crumbs Comics popped up. Professor R2. Yeah, that's pretty good. You have Crumbs Comics. I did do I did the thing on YouTube, but I don't see it. It's fine though. I think that there's enough here to work with. And yeah, guys, check it out. Check out what Sean's doing, what Professor R2 is doing. And I guess this is a good time for us to say goodnight and be on our way. I guess quickly before we go, I just want to look at some names that were here. And hopefully I won't miss anybody. There was John Richards, the problematic white guy, Joshua Calkins, Kivo 1961, Tripping Orc, Rockstraw, Racerhead, Empress and M. Let's see. Phantom Monk, Robnut Skubla. Hope I didn't forget anybody. If I did, tell me. Orbis P.
Or Clo Di Stefano.
Orbis P. Hi, if that makes sense. Yes, you're right. I've said that a few times today, so I take responsibility for that. I don't know why. Sometimes you're locked in a sentence and kind of comes out a number of times. So, yes, I did say that a number of times. And if that's why you wrote it, I accept the criticism. I'm not like Paul Tassi. I admit it. I said that a number of times today. Why not a penguin based on an orc from Tolkien? Or I don't know in what context that was, but yeah. In any case, Tripping Orc, Empress and M, we said, Phantom Monk, Phantom Outsider, Dude Bro Seth 420, Eraserhead, Adam Gray, and Aldrich. Willem03, disprove making money off of this trash is a win. And then let's see. If I forgot somebody, tell me, guys. Adam Gray, I think I said.
Kivo, 1961.
Evil, yeah, no, we said that was like the first one I said, or one of the first ones.
Law Dog.
Some Late Guy, LI, 1990.
Yeah,
No.
and thanks again for the rants.
Rants, yeah, totally. Thank you. That was really nice. Jay Goodwin. Some Late Guy again. And I'm happy that there was also so much interaction. Scotty R37. I feel like people really came and really joined in this conversation. I love that. It's great. Jama Lama.
You have a lot of choices of live streams, some with more boobage than others. But you chose us.
You chose us. There's Urkel De Stefano, Time Crisis 2. Urkel De Stefano, Duck Hunt. Those were good games. Didn't have that kind of effect on me like Super Mario Brothers, but you listed some good games. And I guess now that we've said hi to people and we've talked to everybody and just did that round, I think that's a good time for us to step away and go enjoy our night, late night, whatever it is. Go to sleep, basically.
I'll tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to go watch any more of Agatha All Along. That's what.
No, you don't need to. You don't need to.
I don't need nightmares.
I'm going to go to sleep now, honestly, and I feel like that's what you guys are going to do. So it's a good time to say goodbye to everybody. Bye.
Night all.
Good night.
See ya.